morning, comrade subscribers. Welcome back. Thanks for hanging around. Thought I'd have another quick look at the Hewlett-Packard Plus. I was reading the documentation, and Plus is all in capitals, so I don't know if I'm supposed to emphasize that when saying it. Oh yeah, and also a big thank you to Adam. So he posted these off September, and they just sat in Poland for months, and then suddenly they turned up in Australia last week. So he sent me a Soviet 8080 clone and a Polish 8080 clone, 8080 clone. So I've got some, like I said in my post, some 28C16s, because the Radio 86 uses 2K ROMs for character, for the font and other bits, which my EEPROM programmer can't program. So I think you guys suggested some 28C16s. So I've got some of those finally, so I'll give them a go. So hopefully this week, but in the meantime, so I've been having a bit of a look. I don't know if I did some close-ups or not. I don't know. So there's a few. Let's zoom out. So there's a few main boards. So I think this board differs between the different variants. So this is the 128K board, and as you can see here, we've got the 64 kilobit, 8 kilobyte RAM, and then we've got the 192K of ROM. And so you can actually see, so these are actually masked ROMs, so these are kind of unique. So you can see the numbering here, 3668, then we've got 3669, 70, 71, 72, 73. So obviously they need to go in the right order. But yeah, that's the 192K of built-in software. Like there's what's it called, PAM, something manager. So it's got a built-in kind of program manager. This is the EEPROM that I showed before, so I think it's 8K, can be a 16K, well you can put in a 32K, but only up to 16K is read. So this has got things like the serial number, the model, the amount of memory, some other bits and pieces like keyboard layout, things like that. So it's pretty much unique to every machine. So I don't know how important the serial number is, but certainly if you try to upgrade the RAM, you would need to change it. So yeah, so that's the RAM daughter board, I guess. Looking at the main board, we've got the 80C86 up the top here. I guess that is that one there, 80C86. Yeah, this is interesting. This I've never seen. It's kind of like a ceramic with a little hat on the top. So I think this is U10. So this is the LCD controller apparently. So I thought that was a kind of unique chip. So we've got some Hewlett-Packard custom chips here, Hewlett-Packard embossed on them. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, so one thing I noticed is that there is no coprocessor board slot 8087. So, which is interesting, because, considering it's a Hewlett-Packard machine, you would think that they would include some sort of numeric coprocessor. I don't know. One other thing I noticed, okay, a little bodge wire, but these sockets here are where the memory daughter board plugs into, and it looks like they're actually kind of soldered in later, like hand soldered. You can see the flux on them. You can also see that they've got two options, so you could actually have them soldered in or some headers. Anyway, thought that was interesting. Right, so what I was going to do, I don't know if it's worth dumping the ROMs. I assume the ROMs have been dumped. Certainly this one is unique because it's got the serial number. But I guess I'm guessing the program, I don't know if there was any changes to it ever. I don't know if there was a newer version released. I don't know. I need to do some more research, I guess. But so I was going to put it back together and see if I can power it on, because my assumption is Excuse me, I need to cough. So my assumption is, so we've got the battery terminals here. So as long as I'm putting in 6 volts from my power supply, I should be able to boot it. So I'm going to give that a go. I don't have the 12 volt AC transformer yet. And looking at the battery, so there are replacements available in the US. Not too expensive, but it's a bit heavy. So there's also an option you can Hawker Cyclone batteries. I was just reading 2 volt. You can get 3 of them, glue them together. They also quite work well apparently. But yeah, so it is possible to get replacements for this. So you notice the way they've done it is the terminals are actually at the top here, and but this is actually how it's connected in the machine. So you can actually see that they're running a strip of conductor to here, and then under here, this black tape, you can see they've actually discreetly run the conductor to this terminal there. So this is obviously quite important. Looks like it's just on here with double-sided tape. So you should be able to having said that, I'm not sure how the screws are bonded to that conductor strip. So I might have to take the conductor strip off first, perhaps. So it doesn't have to be a conductor strip. You can, if you want to, I guess, replace it, you can just run wire. It's just, well, I was going to say thin wire, but what's the current initial current 0.8 amps? So yeah, it doesn't have to be too thick wire. I guess instead of running the strip, you could just run some thin conductor and attach it there. So that's what I'll look at doing. Just buy a replacement battery and make it up myself. But first, putting it all back together, and then seeing if I can boot it up. So yeah, I've just used super glue on the cracks just to hold it, I guess. I don't know. Looks to be okay. So I'll put it all back together and let's see. Right, so I'm back. So I ran into a small issue. Putting these 2 boards together, or PCAs, I think, according to the documentation, they're called PCAs. The issue is, so we've got these long pin headers here. If we have a look, so we've got these long pin headers there. So normally pretty simple, like especially if we've got a receptacle like this to slot it back in. But the receptacle, as I showed before, is this here, which is not exactly the same. So the problem is just trying to push it in straight. Oh, maybe I can, but I think this gap here is just slightly wider. It's just slightly wider than that gap there, I think. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just a bit concerned about the documentation doesn't give any hints about how to do it. So that's got standoffs on the bottom, so it might be better off having that flat and then pushing down like that. But I figured before I do that, because I'm certainly not going to pull it apart with all this difficulty I'm having, so I don't know if the ROMs have been dumped. I assume they have been, but there doesn't actually seem to be that much information. Sure, that the HP Museum has got all the documentation. It's got documentation software. It's got loads of information. But I didn't see mention of the firmware. And because the other thing I'm interested in is, has anyone made a homebrew version of these boards, especially the the 1 MB memory draw, because the schematics are in the service manual, so it might be possible, but I've not seen anything so far. So I'm just going to dump these. So these are 32K each, so I assume just 27,256. And this one I believe is an 8K. I believe it's an 8K. Should I pull the sticker off? I'm not sure. Yep, so I'm going to go dump all those, then I'll try and get them back together. But actually before I do that, why don't we pull open, have a look at what's actually inside the memory drawer. Of course, the Torx are a different size. Stand by. Okay, screws are removed. Okay. Oh, okay, cool. Here we go. Rev B 82984-8001. Alright, so let's see if we can pull those apart. Not really seeing. Oh yeah, there we go. There is a little bit of movement. I believe there was a little bit of movement. There we go. Okay. So this is a 128, so what are these? HM62, so okay, these are all 8 kilobyte, 64 kilobit, 8 kilobyte SRAM, I guess. They're all the same? Assume so. So 16 and 16, so 32 in total. What are all these things? More memory there. Some HC logic. Alright. I wonder if it would be possible to make a simplified version of this using higher capacity memory chips that we've got today. So yeah, just the same on that board. So we've got just trying to figure it out. HM6264. Yep, 6264 LFP-12. So that's all what, 120 nanosecond. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we've got 16 there. And we have another 16 here. And we have another 16 there. So we've got 48 of these in total. 48 lots of 8K. Does that sound right? Let's just double check. Okay, so that's quite interesting. So 48 lots of 8K is 384K, not 128K. And actually looking at these boards here, 82984, whereas this is a 82981 board, which is a 128K, and down here we've got 82981. So I'm wondering, so certainly if we take off these two daughter boards, we'll take these two daughter boards off. So yeah, so if we don't have these daughter boards here, this is actually 128K. This by itself is 128K. But then we add these two daughter boards and we get up to 384K. So I didn't see any mention of that in the documentation. So maybe I do. Okay. So maybe I do have, was it 512K, which is the maximum. Well, it's the maximum amount of system RAM you can use, but the RAM is divided up between the system RAM and the two electronic discs. So obviously, the more RAM you've got, the more RAM you've got, the more you can use for the system and also for storage. Anything over 512K RAM is allocated for the electronic discs. So you can have maximum 512K RAM. So if I had these and then I had another 256K, then that 256K would be allocated to the discs solely. So that's interesting. I'm glad I took that off because so I don't know if this was always like that. It looks like it. It's a Rev A, so maybe you could always add these additional daughter boards. That's interesting. Oh, there we go. So let me put this back together, and I don't know if I want to. Can I be lazy and just finish off the video now? Have I shown you guys enough? And then tomorrow I can dump the ROMs. So part three will be powering it up, I assume. So is that all right with you guys? Well, it doesn't really matter if it isn't. So we'll finish off here. So we've had a little bit more of a look, pulling it apart. We've discovered that I might have 512K machine, which is good. Actually, I should take some photos of this because I put a question on the VC Fed forum today asking if anyone had homebrew, because actually the documentation also mentions that the Portable Plus comes with the ROM software drawer. So that's all I've got, which is empty. So this one certainly didn't. But yeah, 1.5 meg of software, like stuff like Lotus and things like that. So instead of having to, so you can actually. That's what's great about this machine, is that you don't need to carry around a floppy drive with you. You can do everything, especially if you've got the software and ROM. You can do everything on the machine itself. So anyway, I'm going to take some photos of this and dump the ROMs tomorrow, put it all back together, and in part 3 we'll make sure it powers up. Hopefully that's okay. Apologies if it's not. Bye for now.